Payday 3's 8th major game update is out today, and Major is doing a lot of the heavy lifting today because it really is the biggest update Payday 3 has had, and in my personal opinion, the best one. Because after several months of collective brain rot in the form of some really stupid yet hilarious memes, the second DLC pack, Boys in Blue, is out today with a new heist, new Tailor pack, and new weapons. There's free content like the first new heister post-launch, as well as a new LMG, and a bunch of other stuff, and I genuinely think this update is absolutely fantastic. I have some critiques here and there, but overall, I feel very, very positive about Update 8 for Payday 3. So in today's video, I'm going to break down everything, let you know what I think, and offer my thoughts, because I did get to play the update a bit early, thanks to Starbreeze for giving me a build, but I should clarify that it didn't include everything. Solo mode wasn't in my build, so I will talk about it later, but I won't be able to offer first-hand experience, because I wasn't able to try it. We'll all be trying that together as the servers lift, which, to be fair, by the time this video goes out, the game should hopefully be playable. And of course, the usual blurb, because this is an early access build. If you see any bugs in the gameplay, anything like that, bear in mind, it's an early build, so that probably accounts for why they are working the way they are. And on top of that, make sure that you check out my Twitch stream tonight, twitch.tv/RedArcherLive. I'll be live at 7 PM BST, that's UK time, because remember, there's Twitch drops. You can get free content for Payday 3 if you watch my stream tonight. So make sure you come along, hang out, and have a good time as we play the first new Payday 3 heist in 2024, which is insane to say, considering we're in June. But either way, from everything we're seeing, it seems that the momentum is really building up, so this is the start of hopefully something really good. Last month's update set us up for some really good new content, and today I personally think we got the start of that very good new content. So let's get into it and break it all down. And also, if I can just ask very quickly, because I don't normally do this, if you enjoy this video or you want to stay in touch with all future Payday 3 news, please do click subscribe to the channel. My analytics tell me that only about 30% of people who watch these videos are subscribed, and if you keep coming back and you keep wanting to find out more about Payday 3 news, why not click that button? Helps me a lot, and it really helps support the channel, so please do click it if you want to keep in touch with all Payday 3 content. I'm going to order everything in the chapter section like I usually do in these videos, so if you want to see me talk about certain bits, then feel free to skip along, but bear in mind, I'm going to leave the things that I didn't get to try in the build until the end of the video, because I want to lead this video, front load it with the stuff I've actually tried, so it feels more appropriate than ever to start talking with the DLC, because yes, it's paid content, but I think this is really worth talking about, because I think a lot of you are probably wondering if the DLC is worth purchasing this time around. Boys in Blue is the second DLC chapter for Payday 3, and it comes with a new heist, a new Tailor pack, and a new weapon pack, so I'm going to handle them one by one. And I'm actually going to get the outfit pack out the way first, because I think it's very quick, and I don't really need to talk about it very much. Outfit packs are super duper subjective, and you will have already seen them, and if you haven't, I've got a handy video here from Payday socials that I think show the cosmetics off better than I could have in game. They're all based on the opposite sides of the law. It seems like in the outfits there's two specific outfits that are police versions, and then two that are the same outfits but with things added or changed or customized to be the lawbreaker side of the outfits, which is a really cool idea. You've got the 4 masks and 4 pairs of gloves alongside that, but overall, I'll be honest, I'm not super sold on these cosmetics. I think the free stuff, especially the stuff coming out as compensation items, is better than the stuff we got in the paid DLC pack, but that is just my opinion. You may feel differently. You've seen the content. I'll let you all decide on that front. So let's now move on to the other stuff, and I'll start with the heist because I think that's what I want to talk about the most, because I have a lot of things to say. And I'll lead with this. This feels very much like a Payday 2 revival era heist, and I mean that in the best way possible. Payday 2's revival era had some heists that were really good and some heists that weren't so good. They tried different things out, they experimented, and I always thought that was them setting themselves up to try things in Payday 3, and I don't personally feel like a lot of Payday 3's heists showed that they'd learned from the revival era heists. They just felt like different kinds of heists altogether, and they worked for the most part. The point is, I really like how Boys in Blue runs. So let me break down the objectives for you in both Loud and Stealth, and then give you some overall thoughts, because they're actually very, very different. In Stealth, you're working all around the interior of the police station, getting into the police captain's office, and trying to work out how to get into this vault that contains confiscated gold, as well as some other extra loot that you can find around the police station. Within that, there's exploring both floors of the police station, going into their vault, and also interacting with donuts. It was part of the meme, but you actually have to place donuts in a specific spot to actually get the stealth objectives done. It's part of a distraction for the police captain. You can find loose donuts around the map and just pick them up and eat them, and they have a very cool animation. It's different between Loud and Stealth. In Stealth, it's longer because you obviously have more time to eat them, but just little attention to details like that I really, really love. But you work around in Stealth, you get into the vault, and get the gold out. Feedback on Stealth specifically, there's some things I really, really like. In particular, I love that the doorway going towards the vault is pressure sensitive. You can't walk through that corridor if you're carrying anything more than 1 bag. If you're carrying 2 bags, the system locks down. The only downside is I personally have found it really hard on my stealth attempts to get around en masse. heist. And I think purely based on where the escape is located outside of the police station, you want to get through this heist unmasked. So I'm not entirely sure how the solo stealth players are going to vibe with this particular execution of it. This is very much early thoughts. I haven't played it nearly enough in the stealth and really gone through different options and RNG spawns, so take what I say with a grain of salt there. But either way, the stealth objectives are very unique. Even if you end up going loud by the time you get to the vault extraction, just getting around and getting into the vault in that specific way, I really, really like. It uses the different locations of the police station really well. There's a locker room that contains a red key card you can find, and you can hack specific computers to tell you where they're going to be. That feels very reminiscent of previous Payday 3 heists, so it mixes some things together. Overall, the stealth feels more like a Payday 3 heist. It feels like the Payday 3 stealth you're used to, and takes good advantage of the police station map. But the loud version of Boys in Blue is very different because it doesn't use the police station nearly as much. There are a couple of reasons to go in there. For one thing, your escape will need a DOC van to get out, and the keys for that are most likely in the police station. There are 3 different safes in the upstairs sections, in the captain's office, lieutenant's office, and other side of the lecture room office, and all 3 of them will always contain either a bag of cash or the car keys, or on a very small chance be blank, and that's the case that the car keys have spawned inside the van instead. Why am I calling them car keys if it's a van? They're van keys. You get the point. Most likely you'll have 2 bags of cash and the keys in each of those safes though, and those bags of cash are fixed. The loot in this heist is completely fixed. It's one downside to this heist. You always get those 2 bags of cash, the 6 bags of gold in the actual vault, and then somewhere in the evidence boxes there's 1 bag of rare minerals from the road rage heist and 1 bag of cocaine. Always fixed. You always get out with 10 bags as the max loot. I don't love that, but I think that's just the way that Payday 3 system works. It has to have certain bags of loot for you to get the all bags IP bonus. I wish at some point that would change and the game would be able to identify all bags when the number of bags varies between runs. That would be really cool. But going back to what I was saying, the other reason you can go around the police station in loud is there's an objective to get hold of some police files for Vlad from a server that's in the upstairs police office, or sometimes downstairs. That room can change locations, but that encourages you to go around and get an objective done in the police station. And the good thing about that optional objective is it's different in stealth. If you're doing it in stealth, you instead place audio bugs in different places around the map to give Vlad some insider information. So it's a really good way to give you an optional objective that's different depending on the way you play, and I really love that about this heist. What I will say is the optional objective is supposed to give you some kind of reward. I'm not entirely sure what it is because it didn't seem to trigger in my build. I'm assuming some kind of cash or experience boost, so if any of you notice it, please let me know in the comment section below, and maybe I'll put it in a pinned comment or something, but I didn't get any reward. I just know there's meant to be something to incentivize you to do those optional objectives. But either way, in terms of loud objectives, you put bombs on the side of the police station wall to explode it, and then have a tow truck winch pull the door off its hinges to get into the vault. It works really well for loud, but there's a lot of waiting around. You have to first up wait for the tow truck to try and pull itself naturally, then you have to plug in a power generator, which involves setting up wires in certain places. Feels very much like Counterfeit in that sense, where you could set up the water hose before you actually plugged it into the safe. The only downside with Boys in Blue is you can't set that wire up until you need it. You can't get it done ahead of time like you can in Counterfeit with the water hose. You've got to wait. It's not ideal, and also with the escape van, you have to lower it down from a suspension it's on in the garage, and you can't do that till you're about to escape. Those 2 objectives, I'd love if you could actually do them ahead of time, because the van garage you can unlock at any point, but you just can't do anything with it once you're in there. So I'd like those objectives to have been doable before you get to that point. Set up the wire for the generator and plug it in as soon as it tells you. Have the van lowered so it's ready when you need to open it. That would have been really good. But either way, you plug the generator into the tow truck. That will then get the winch off, but that takes a lot longer time-wise. Get in the vault, get the gold out, secure it in the van. Job done, escape is done. In terms of actual loud execution, I really, really like it. I think both versions of this heist do something really unique, which is something that the Payday 2 Revival era heists didn't often do. A lot of the loud and stealth objectives felt similar. Sometimes they didn't, but sometimes they really did. I feel like you get 2 very different playthroughs playing it stealth versus loud, which I love about this. Some heists in Payday 3, like Under the Surface, which is still one of my personal favorites, there's not that much that varies. Whether it's loud or stealth, you still take down the security for the art gallery, you still go in and steal the paintings, you still go secure them. There's no real changes there. But in this, how you get to that vault is very, very different in the way you play. So if you prefer one version to the other, you'll get a unique experience. If you like both, you'll get 2 unique experiences. It really does feel like that. So all in all, in terms of the heist, this is one of my favorite heists in Payday 3. Like I said, I have some little nitpicks with it here and there. I think the stealth escape is going to be a bit too hard unmasked, but I still want to see you guys try and figure that out and see if I'm just being really bad and I haven't tried it enough. And also, I think some of the loud objectives could be done a little bit more ahead of time. The waiting around for the winch takes a while, but I really like that because it gets you involved in the Payday combat. And in a way, it forces you to take a breath and actually enjoy the combat, which, as we've said previously, Payday 3 doesn't like to do. Payday 3 forces you to be done as soon as possible with the final charge and getting out and your resources running out, but here it almost feels like it says, okay, take a breath, pause, enjoy the gameplay. which I really like. So in terms of heists, I really like this. And the pricing being reduced means that it's not undone by it being overly expensive. I feel like in terms of value for money, I think it's really good. I haven't seen the price confirmation, but I'm going off the assumption it is $12 as we've all theorized, because the Payday socials have said it's a third off the original price, which was $18. So that's $12 for all 3 DLCs though, obviously bear that in mind. The only other thing I note about this heist is that there isn't really a negotiation phase if you enjoy trading the hostages. The problem is all the guards in the police station are actual cops. The cops never surrendered and the gunplay just continued. So as soon as it popped up for even a second about the negotiation phase, it was gone straight away. The AI never stopped shooting on my team. The cops never seemed to stop shooting. So the elimination of the negotiation phase is a bit of a shame because I really like it. But if it's a one-off for this heist, then fair, I get it. There are some decent amounts of civilians around the police station, so you just have to trade them for resources in between assaults this time instead, which some of you may already do anyway. So just thought it was worth noting that. And then finally, in terms of paid content, we have the DLC weapons. Now there is an assault rifle, an SMG, and a pistol. I can't remember for the life of me what they're all called, but I'm sure the names will be in the chapter markers anyway. All 3 guns, I think, feel really good. And I did worry for a little bit there might have been some power creeping going on, because obviously the one downside of some DLC packs is if the weapons are so powerful, you feel forced to buy the DLC pack because the guns are so good. Is that the case with this DLC pack? I don't really know by and large. What I will say is my favorite gun out of all of them is easily the pistol, which I think is called the Bullkick 500, based on a Python revolver, at least as far as I can tell from my Walking Dead Rick Grimes loving ass, and it handles just about as awesomely as that. I spoke to some partners, apparently I'm just weird for not having seen 5-round revolvers before, but this is a 5-round revolver. I expected it to be 6, but it is literally a pocket cannon. It will one-shot pretty much anything. It is so powerful and extraordinarily fun to use. Just bear in mind, as I said, there's only 5 rounds in the mag, and there's no customization for mag size in this revolver. I know some people will go, well, that makes sense because you can't customize guns. I'm British. I'm not an expert on guns the way some other people might be, but for me, I would have loved there to have been an option to increase the mag size even to 6 or 8 or 9, or even something to reload faster, but there's nothing present there for that. So unfortunately, customization-wise, I don't think the revolver's perfect, but in terms of how it actually handles and performs, you really can't complain. It's fantastic and very, very fun to use. There's then the SMG, which I believe is based on the MP5, and this thing is a powerhouse, especially going for headshots. It's very, very quick to dispatch with enemies. Almost a little bit too powerful, I think it might be, but that could always be dealt with in a fix and made a bit weaker, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was. But it is really fun to handle. It's a good SMG, performs well, it's got some good customization, I personally think. Very well performing weapon. I really like it. And third off, you've got the assault rifle. I think it's based on the G3. I'm trying to guess here. Sorry, I'm not an expert, but that also feels quite good. That's probably the least interesting of the 3 weapons for me, though. I think there are other well-performing rifles like the VF7S that you'll probably still prefer to use, but it's good to have an extra assault rifle, an extra option in there, and something fun to experiment with. Overall, in terms of the weapon pack, there's not a dud in here, in my opinion. There's one that's a bit more mid, one that's really powerful, and one that is literally cracked. And I like all 3 of them to different varying degrees. So overall, talking about the full DLC with this heist, tailor pack, and weapon pack in mind, do I recommend Boys in Blue? Thoroughly. I genuinely really do. If the price is $12, like I said, like I theorize it's going to be, then I think it will just about be worth that money. I think it really is subjective based on the money that you're spending and, you know, your own personal circumstances. But for me, looking at it face value, I think it will probably be worth the money. I think so. Unlike Syntax Error, where it was just vastly overcharged for what was overall a pretty decent DLC pack, this one doesn't have that downside to creep on it, and I think overall the value of the content offered is stronger than what we had with Syntax Error. I really do think so. The weapons in Syntax Error are pretty good, but I haven't really used them since, whereas these ones I'm going to use a lot. I can see it coming, and not just because I see the Python and think, Rick Grimes! I really like him. I really, really do. The only downside for me is the Tailor pack, but by and large as a bundle, I think it's still really strong. And of course, as I've said, you at home may think it's really cool, and if you do, that's an even bigger plus. So, there you go. Do I recommend Boys in Blue? Yes. Wow, that was a lot of talking about DLC. Okay, let's run through all the things that I think are really good. Next up, free content. Clover is in the game. She's the first post-launch heister. She's played by Aoife Duffin again, just like she was in Payday 2, and it's like she never left. Aoife plays her fantastically. Overall, I just think she's really, really strong. I really like Clover, and it doesn't feel like she's changed much between Payday 2 and Payday 3. So if you like Clover, you're going to get the same thing again in Payday 3, at least in my opinion. I think she's really, really good. I feel bad because this is a really tiny section of the video and I really like her, but I don't really have a lot to say. She's a returning character. She's got that same Irish charm to her that she had in Payday 2, and she does have some interesting lore within Boys in Blue. And I did kind of want to comment on this, so you know what, I'm going to put a separate chapter marker in. I'll slide it in right here. Skip this chapter if you don't want spoilers for Payday 3 story. This sounds wild, but I genuinely think this is something you might want to have kept for yourself as a secret if you haven't seen it online. So bear in mind, because at the end of the final cutscene for Boys in Blue, you find that the next heist may well involve breaking Houston out of Rikers Island. Sounds like the Houston breakout everyone's theorized since the game came out or before it is actually going to happen. Whether that's DLC 3 Land of the Free, or whether it's the free heist they're cooking, or anything in between, I don't know. In terms of story chronology, you would think the next heist will be it, so I imagine Land of the Free will do that. We'll see how it goes. But either way, I'm very excited, and I did did quite like that twist. I kind of got a bit of chills hearing the name drop of Houston, and I don't think we knew Houston's name was Franklin, did we? Or am I crazy? Either way, Franklin Steele, that's Houston, so we're going to get him out of Rikers Island, it sounds like. Very exciting times. I'm very keen to see that in a future update. The next big piece of free content is the LMG, the Blyspruta, I think is how you say it. This thing is a powerhouse, and in a way, the addition of the gun is kind of funny because it shows that Payday 3 wasn't really built for an LMG, at least in my opinion. This thing can just swathe through hordes of cops, and on top of that is a pretty good bulldozer combat because a full mag of that, or less than a full mag, will kill a bulldozer, and there's not many weapons where you can deal with a bulldozer that quickly. It's a pretty powerful gun in that, and I like that it's free. I'm glad that a new weapon category has started off with a free weapon because it gives you a good baseline and it doesn't lock an entire category behind paid purchases. I love that. I think this one is going to be one that I try a lot. I can honestly see myself in casual Payday 3 gameplay going for the LMG from the free section of this update and the revolver from the DLC section. I can really see that happening. I think the two of them work really well together. I'm a big LMG fan in Payday 2 and I think I've been very, very happy with how it's been introduced in Payday 3. Feels very similar, feels very fun. Really like using it. In terms of free content beyond the LMG, you have some customization options. The 3 new masks, you can see them in game now. 3 unique designs that I like. I think the medieval one is a little bit simpler compared to the other 2, but you may prefer it to me, so it's all about subjective opinions. On top of that, you got 12 flag stickers, so different countries you can put on the side of your gun now, as well as 1 charm, which is a shamrock that ties to Clover. But solo mode, let's just talk about how that works very briefly. If you've not seen the dev update video or any of my previous reports on it, this is the very first iteration of a solo mode for Payday 3. It is not a full offline mode, despite what IGN tried to say in one of their tweets yesterday, which caused a bit of an uproar, but basically with the current iteration of solo mode, the only real benefit to it is it skips the matchmaking step. What it will do is you'll get into the game, logging in, connected to the internet, you'll have a game modes option now, so you click the game modes and press solo mode, it's marked as a beta, and you pick your heist and it'll take you straight into it. Currently within the known issue section of the patch notes, it does say that solo mode heists will reward double the cash. They said we'll call this one an incentive to help us test the feature. Either way, it's a cool idea because it'll get people to try it out. The reward screen will display double the amount of bags actually secured, so maybe that's where the double money comes in. But either way, there's some bugs around. You can see all of them in the known issues section, and just I'll leave the overall known issues on the page actually real quick here, just so you can see everything that's currently not working as intended with the build. But overall, the solo mode will allow you, like I said, to try the game out on your own without the matchmaking step. That's the key thing here. They've said some things will not work as intended, and this is very much a feedback-based thing. It's the first iteration of the mode, and they are planning to make it a lot bigger, and hopefully we'll wind up with a proper offline mode by the end of this. But we'll have to wait and see. Depends on how the execution goes with this, but hopefully it all goes well. Beyond that, extra things to mention, you can now rename your loadouts at last. There's also Steam trading cards, and the Steam Point Shop has stuff for PC players for you to get Payday 3 related content, so that's quite cool. The Twitch drops I mentioned earlier, I'll put a picture again on screen now of what those Twitch drops contain in case you've not seen the image until this point. All you gotta do is watch any affiliated Twitch streamer, so basically anyone getting more than a few viewers in their streams, watch them play Payday 3, you can claim the rewards one after the other. It will require you to connect your Twitch to your Nebula account, so make sure you've done that if you haven't already. But if you have any more questions on that, hop into my Twitch stream later and I will explain it all to you at different points, so don't worry, you'll get the stuff if you come out and check my stream. And beyond that, as I said before, there is the extra content for people who own Syntax Era, Silver or Gold Edition to account for the pricing reduction in future DLC packs, including today's. It includes 5 different suits and also 4 different gun variants, I believe. These were all things that were intended for the microtransaction store that never came to be. But the point is that content is now just in the game as extra incentives if you already own any of those versions or any of those DLCs. And also, I've not heard it mentioned today, but it was said in the dev update there should be an option to upgrade to the Gold Edition of Payday 3 today via a Gold Pass. That was mentioned in the dev update, so I'm assuming, because nothing's been said otherwise, that's still true. A Gold Pass should be available on all platforms? Please let me know if you can't see it. There's a bunch of other things you can pick out in the patch notes, but I will leave them in the description for you to look through. The only things that I want to point out, just a couple of things just scrolling through, the biggest one being that the DLC weapons from the Syntax Era pack had their ammo pickups nerfed in the previous update, and they weren't in the patch notes. There was no explanation for it. Well, it's all been undone. So the ammo pickups that were there originally have returned to those guns. But also in the Heist section, a couple of extra changes here. They have added some armor repair kits to Heist where they weren't currently spawning in. No Rest for the Wicked has had its IP payouts reduced ever so slightly, not massively, but you'll see those changes on screen here, whereas Cook-Off has shot up. So now Cook-Off pays out a lot more in free points, doubled in some places and more than doubled in others, which I really, really like because it needed to be. You needed to really improve that, so I'm glad that they have done that. But either way, that's just about everything in Payday 3 Update 8 to talk about. There's other bits, like I said, in patch notes you can pick through and look at, but I've covered all the key parts, and honestly, like I said, I think this is the best update the game's had since launch. I did really like Update 2 at the time. I did the Legacy Heist, and I said it made Payday 3 refun again. Unfortunately, it didn't last for very long. The game still had some mechanics that weren't really running very well, and it didn't make replayability very fun. But since there's been several updates over the last few months that have added things, changed things, in particular last month's progression system overhaul, it now means that when you add content into the game like this update, it's on better stead, and you're also going to play the game hopefully a lot more because the overall framework is better. It's got a ways to go, yes it has, but it's come a long way as well. So this, if you haven't jumped in already, if you didn't jump in last month and you're thinking, is now a good time to get back into Payday 3? Yes, this is a better point than we've ever had for you to jump back in and try some new stuff. And remember, if you don't own the DLC and don't want to buy it, you can join it if a friend owns it. Overall, I just think Payday 3 is in a much better place, and I'm really excited to see what the next couple of updates bring, especially considering they've teased that the next 2 DLCs will come out before September. So that suggests that Land of the Free DLC 3 will come out next month. Not been officially said, but you can deduce it based on words they've already said. So if that's the case, we're really getting a good momentum here, and I'm keen to see what next month's update brings with Update 9. So some cool things could be coming, some very, very cool things. But either way, thank you all very much for watching this DLC review. If you've enjoyed it, please give a thumbs up. I greatly appreciate it, and click that subscribe button if you are new to stay in touch with all future Payday 3 news. As I said, I'll be live tonight on my Twitch, twitch.tv/RedArcherLive, playing this update live and giving you all some awesome Twitch drops, so make sure you hang out for that. I might be back tomorrow with a dev blog video, but I'll say right now, I'm not expecting a big one. Last time there was an update, the dev blog the next day did pretty much nothing, so I'm expecting the same thing to happen tomorrow. If that changes, I'll make a video, but I will be busy tomorrow night, so I'll see if I can get one out as soon as possible, but I will post it in my community tab on YouTube if there's nothing to note from the blog, so just keep an eye out for that. Either way, thank you all for watching. See you all tonight for the Twitch stream, and assuming the dev blog is a bit basic tomorrow, I'll see you all next week with some brand new content. Look after yourselves, stay safe, and I'll see you all in the next one.